Ladies and gentlemen, I want to warmly wish you all welcome to Helsinki and to this 22nd International Conference on Environmental Indicators. The basic idea has been to get specialists of different fields work together, discuss together, and vision together what could be the most scientifically evidenced and scientifically justified means for the survival of mankind. It's a very big issue, and we want that this society, which has been active for 40 years, would be giving a very good and positive start for the revival of this discussion. And therefore, we are so very glad to see each of you in here in Helsinki, and I wish you all a very happy and inspiring and productive conference during these days in the capital of Finland, which is celebrating her centenary this year. And first, I want to invite here Professor Emeritus Osmo Hänninen, who was the first president of the International Society of Environmental Indicators. The society had a different name that time, 40 years ago, but now Osmo was elected 2 years ago again to be the president, and he will tell us a few words for the beginning of this meeting. So, Osmo, please.
Elias, thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm not the first president of this society. I was vice president many years ago. And the next slide, no, it's here. Oh, no. Give it back. Yeah. This gentleman is Janos Salanki. He is the founder. He's the founder of the society. Of course, he is a late person. Oh, yeah, great. No, I know how to fix his work. Yeah, so he is unfortunately not anymore with us. And the lady here is his wife. But I don't remember her name. And I'm here on the right side over here. Yeah. Anyway, this is a great pleasure to welcome on my behalf, also from the history that you are coming here. We had once a meeting in Kuopio, which is the place where I'm working. Kuopio is about maybe 5 hours train travel to north, just up. But then you are also crossing the river, where I was about to die when I was 2 years old, because my mother was wishing, and he warned me not to go to the river. And of course I went to the river, and then what I remember, I saw his hand to take my hair and throw me up from the river. That's horrible river. It's just a little bit to the east of Helsinki. Yeah. No. Now it is a great thing to be here. And of course, this is an indication that this society is surviving. And the society is absolutely important because we are covering practically all the living phenomena in the world. And some of this many species are in great danger now, because we humans, we have a great power to do good and bad things. And I have been, this technology is new to me. How to proceed? Yeah, here is a picture from Lake Baikal. We had several meetings in Lake Baikal in those old days. And this is from the Irkutsk side of the lake. There is an enormous water resource, this Lake Baikal. And it is sad to hear that they have established this enormous factory there. But one of the next slides will see that it's working, this purification system. Because I have been drinking the water, and also this, unfortunately I don't remember any more the names of the people, but we were all drinking the water. So that has been through the industrial process and the water purification system too. And I have been drinking the water, so it works. Yeah, and I have also been swimming in this lake Baikal. This is, of course, good many years ago. But here I am. And it is on the opposite side of the factory. But what is seeing the no, I have many slides, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, but I'm very happy that we are again sitting in this meeting like this, and many others I hope so. And you have seen that this has given a possibility for me to visit very beautiful places like this Lake Baikal. We are happy even swimming and drinking of clean water. But there are many years back. So those the newest news from Lake Baikal, I have heard that it is not anymore so clean that it used to be. My university is mostly working on environmental matters from various aspects. It's far away from here. But during these meetings, many things have happened. We have even established the African Society for Physiological Sciences. And it's working. It has annually several meetings in various places in Africa. We have our own journal, which is publishing scientific papers, not only from Africa, but also from other countries too. And this Africa happens to be just south from Helsinki. You just fly out to the south, and then you're in Africa. So we are having the same time as they have in Africa. No, then we also wanted to establish an Arab society in the same meeting, but then I got a letter later on that please don't move ahead. The rulers don't let you to do that. So African society was established, but Arab society is still waiting at the door when we have the operation. But it was established in principle at the same time when we were talking about the African problems. And I have been, of course, traveling in Israel several times. And I have also been in one of the most historical places in southern part of Israel, on the mountain top, and be looking, and because it's so dry there, of course there's Dead Sea there, but there's also the Roman imperial army is still surrounding the castle. Oh, actually it is not a castle, it is the natural hill, but you can see where the Roman army has been circulating the mountain. And it's easy to see even now. It was about 3,000 years ago. But then we have been also working new methods, and it's a pity that I don't see Alper Lebedev here. Unfortunately, he's supposed to come here. Alper Lebedev was working with me together on snow samples. We have a system in Finland where we collect on certain times snow samples from different parts of Finland, and it's easy to analyze the snow samples. And with Albert, I thought that he's here, he would continue his talk telling about the snow samples. But the snow is really wonderful because you can see the various layers and you can look which time the pollution is spreading to that particular area. I have suggested we should take the similar studies in Erzurum, I pronounced it right, in the southern part of Turkey. It's near the Ararat mountain. There is ever snow available. But it's that unfortunate time nowadays that it is not easy to go there. I have been in Erzurum, but not always collecting snow. But my suggestion that we should collect the snow there, that is not recommended because the times are not that easy nowadays. But we have also learned that Turkey is in tumultuous times nowadays, as you read in the news. But this only tells that our studies on environment and the developing of new methods is absolutely necessary. So I wish that you will continue the work until we, recently people have been sleeping in peace in cemeteries. But I will only once thank you all that we are now having this meeting. So this society is living. I don't know where we are going to meet next time, but hopefully soon, because these events go fast and fast. So with this I wanted to show the founder, the fathers of the society long time ago. But I hope that there will be many years to come and the society will survive. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Osmo.
I must be careful that I drop from the platform.
So Osmo is the real pioneer in many fields. He has been the professor in the physiology, and he was the one who established the University of Kuopio some time back, and being the first professor of that university, which is now called University of Eastern Finland. And as Osmo told himself, he has initiated many international activities, and this Society of Environmental Indicators is one of these activities. And it's not a kind of scientific society which is focusing on a very small topic, as usually is done. But in this meeting and in this conference, we would like to open the views to various different areas and to get the multidisciplinary approach to these questions. And so we have a president who is most suitable for that purpose because of the many different activities also you have pursued during the years. And so now we have the honor to invite Sirpa Pietikäinen, who is she's a member of the European Parliament and has been the former Ministry of Environment of Finland, and she has had a very good place to observe the changes what have happened, first in the environmental condition and second in the attitudes of people toward this type of issues. So, Sirpa, please.
So good morning to everybody. I'm sorry I was a bit late of your beginning because the train was delayed. And thank you for inviting me here to your conference, because believe me or not, you are my favorite people on the planet at the moment. And the reason for that is that the hardest thing in the world, as you know, is to know what you don't know. And if your knowledge is wrong, your decisions are going to be detrimentally wrong. Think of accounting in the companies. What about if we didn't have accounting? I just would sort of guess as a leader of the company that probably we are sort of making a good profit. Probably this is the right prices of the goods. Or probably these are right decisions. And think of the fact, if we wouldn't have harmonized, standardized, compulsory accounting and auditing in all of the companies. Some of them would have accounting, some of them wouldn't, and everybody would have their own accounting system, because you couldn't use the same accounting right for a company that produces milk or works in the field of mining or water or consumer goods. Think of your challenge as an investor, if you would be investing your pension funds, to decide what are the good investments and decisions to make. And this is yet still exactly the situation where we are in politics and making our choices of environmental legislation and preferences. We do have the accounting systems as in the company field, and this is the indicators what we are using and developing, and this is exactly what the work that you are doing. But we do not yet have the compulsory accounting for companies, for countries, for public organizations, for EU, and on worldwide. That would be harmonized, usable, standardized. That will give us the information, what are the right choices about saving our forests or cutting down the climate emissions or that matter, or what are the good food system decisions to make. And we are making wrong choices. We are making sunk investments. Would take millions of years to discuss with you of the increase of the use of pesticides or GMO or the whole crazy hurdle of exporting, importing and transporting the food all over the planet, or producing bad quality food in long chains. And that goes in energy choices, in our urban infrastructures, in our forest politics, and wherever you would like to take it. And someone needs to create that harmonized, standardized, compulsory, usable indicator system. And yes, I know, quite often in politics and in business I encounter with those comments saying, no, you can't do it. There are too many uncertainties. It's too complex. Like today you are talking about bionomes and food, or you are talking about the uncertainties in climate politics. You need still quite a lot of time to study and to reflect and to think what are the right numbers. No, we do not have the time. And yes, this is a complex system, but this is exactly why we need these indicators you are doing, and to figure out how to make our accounting system and our due diligence there. And that matter, tell me how objective is the brand value that you are accounting in the companies. Are you sure that this is absolutely the physical right answer, that the value of Coca-Cola or Nokia is exactly the figure? or the right value of the shares on your balance sheets that we are using. No, it is the best available figure and accounting method, what we have at the moment. And then when we gain more information, more understanding and experience, we are changing the IFRS, and this is the international standard of accounting that is used worldwide. And exactly that kind of an IFRS, ICEI, we would need to globally create. And then on the run, when we have gained better information, we can check up and tweak the specific information in certain fields. And that exactly then could give us the answer. Are we gaining a profit? For if I'm using the company language, or are we indebting? And I wanted to start with this because I don't know if you have noticed, we are celebrating today the World Overshoot Day. It's an organization called Global Footprint Network that is calculating when we have used the sustainably available amount of the resources of that year. And it happens to be this year, this day. That means that we are roughly using worth 1.5 planets resources every year. And if we would be indebting our economies on that level, that would be worse crisis than ever discussed with the Greek crisis in Europe. Because we are losing our gulfs, our forests, our clean waters, our biodiversity, our climate, you name it. And we wouldn't know that if someone wouldn't calculate it. And why we are in an urgent situation is that if, I believe, like I tend to believe on that quite a number of researchers that are doing this planetary boundaries and overshoot calculation, they are saying that within 30 years, because we have more people in the planet, we have more available resources, that's of course nice for us as consumers, and we have the number of the products extending, and the usable time span for the products is shortening, and the transportation of goods is increasing. So it's exponential growth that is actually exploiting. And we would need 4 planets worth of resources within 30 years by 2050. 4 planets resources. And this is not an ideological or political or philosophical debate whether this is good or it is bad, because it's not going to happen. No, it's a fact. And then the question is not whether we turn the pace and the way how we are acting. The question is only when and how and with what kind of consequences. Now, using 1.5 planets, it's still doable without any drastic consequences. A bit investment and disruptions in the economies and all of that. But if we do it after 20 years, it's like speeding and increasing the pace of the car when you see a brick wall ahead of you. And then when you run on it, certainly the speed is going to stop. But the consequences are quite different than if you would have done it at least 500 meters early on by braking and trying to steer the wheel. And this is exactly what we would need to do. Okay, then going to conclude a couple of words with the food, but about the indicators. This is a huge challenge what we would need to try to deliver the message on member states, on European Parliament, on our parliaments, on our governments, on Commission, all decision-making bodies. Firstly, why we need the information and indicators. Secondly, that because of the complexity of natural systems, I don't need to explain to you, we would need to understand the system changes. We need to change from that kind of a silo thinking and forecasting and trying to see how I could improve or how I make incremental changes in fertilization or climate or whatever, whether you tweak LULUCF about the debate about the forests with 1 year or 1 ton or whatever. You would need to think what are the interactions. And system thinking should be related with backcasting. And this is exactly the 4 planets. If I would need to run a marathon, it wouldn't be adequate that I just walk randomly a bit more. And then I could sort of compare with the history and say, look, I walked 10% more, even 15% more than I did last month. Good for me. And even if I would be doing that constantly, I wouldn't be able to run a marathon after 3 years. And backcasting means, instead of a question, what happens next, we should make the question, how do I get there where I need to be? Backcasting means that if we don't want to try to use 4 planets, we would need to understand what the marathon means, with 1/10 of the resources, within the renewability and not destroying ecosystem services. We should provide the same welfare for the people of the world. And that then actually changes our actions out of the box thinking. You can't improve diesel motors, we've noticed, just incrementally, and to have a sustainable transportation if your amount of cars is increasing at the pace as it is. You have to think the transportation system. And there we have the examples, as you know, about self-driving cars and electricity cars and traffic as a service and all that. We have to think where we need to be, and then the paradigm changes. And if I would need to run the marathon after 3 years, as you know, then I will eat differently and I sleep differently and I go to gym to have a bit of more muscle. I would run short and long and intervals and fast and slow and recovery and the whole story. And this doesn't happen at the moment in our politics in environmental matters, as you know. And if we can't deliver this message to decision makers, we might be in the situation where we would have made detrimental choices and sunk investments that we can't change, even though if we would like to change them later on. Just as one example, the GMOs using very centralized food production systems, bad quality food, high levels of use of pesticides, impoverishing fertile soils. You go on that line 20 years. How then do you go back to diversity on different species, on fertile soils and all that? Okay. Then, this is, on my opinion, changing from childlike thinking, okay, where am I, where I'm heading next, what do I want to do? Do I scream if someone is telling me not to go there? To grown-up adult thinking, on trying to anticipate what are your consequences of your actions. And I think that we could actually require that from our politicians. Then about food, I think it is a perfect example. It's a perfect example about silo thinking and when everything goes wrong. We are producing approximately, depends about the evaluation, from 5,000 to almost close to 6,000 calories per person per day globally. So actually we don't have a, in quotes, famine. We could feed up double of the amount of the people. The question is, what do we do with food waste? And then the food waste isn't just only what I throw out on my plate, but it is all the food chains, what is produced and where, when you cut down the rainforests to cultivate GMO soya, to feed up the huge hundreds of thousands of chickeries in other side of the globe, on Brazil or China, to import them for us, and because I don't tend to like it, then I throw half of it out of my plate away. You can't improve the system. Or then when you are cultivating in Nigeria, in huge areas, the rice, in land-grabbed areas where people need to move away, heavy amounts of pesticides. You spoil the waters and you destroy the fish stem, natural fish stems and the livelihoods of the people. What happens next? Then next, actually, you transport the food, the rice all over the world so that it has traveled almost more than I do, and I do quite a lot of traveling. And it ends up on our plates, and we throw it away. You can't make it sustainable by just tweaking the amount of fertilizers or pesticides you are using there on Nigeria. Remember that the next time you have a chicken and rice, that isn't that rare portion to find. So our food systems are so detrimentally wrong that you can't silo fix that. And then you would think, okay, it's so complicated, can't do it. But what then if you use system thinking? What is food? It would need to be safe, right? No food poisoning or over-chemicalization. It would need to be healthy, so it provides the nutrition on me. And it would need to be, of course, tasty, but I like to eat it. It would need to be affordable, so it is not some kind of a niche area for those ones, the geeks that want to do it. It would need to be ethical. My principle is that if you choose to eat meat, then you would need to be able to look on the eyes, the producer and the beef, the one that actually is killed, to be on your plate. And ethical for the workers and the developing country producers and workers and so on. And then if you think, okay, ethical, safe, healthy, and affordable, what actually would it be? And then you find that this is system thinking. Actually, when you do it right, you fix all of the problems. And then if you silo fix something, and the problem is poured on the other basket, like in bioenergy often happens, the solution is wrong. You didn't think the system. And there, eating more vegetables, seasonal vegetable, preferably organic, that are whatever the near is, produced near. Is that tasty? Is that affordable? Is that pretty ethical? Is the producer earning better? And sort of, I've heard it's good for your health too, than locally produced fish. Meat, you can pay a bit more if you choose to eat it, and eat it a bit more or less than you do nowadays. And actually, that's good for everybody also. So it isn't that difficult. But what we need is A, system thinking, and B, the indicators and the understanding, so that we can think out of the box and create sustainable food systems instead of being sort of drowned by the haphazard facts about land grabbing and soya and GMOs and biodiversity and you name it problems that we have. And so I'm very happy that you have the topic of food indicators today here. And when I looked at your program, a lot of understanding about what is healthy for the consumer, what is nutritional, what is good for the land, the production systems, and what is good for our planet. So I'm very much looking forward for your work, and hopefully you invite me after 20 years on your meeting, when actually we can look back like we just looked back here on this part of the history and say, yes, think of that time. We didn't even use the indicators in our national decision-making systems and our companies. And think of how did we make the decisions, how they happen to be so stupid. So once again, all the best for your conference and all the best success for your very valuable work in the future.
Thank you so much for the highly informative and inspiring talk about the issues which we have during these days. And I think this speech covered nicely the broad area that's going to be discussed during this conference. So thank you